Hello everybody, my name is Daniel Hill and welcome to the 5th edition of Recovering from ME, Fibromyalgia, Chronic Fatigue Syndrome. I am going to endeavour to record this with as little mistakes as possible so I don't have to go and edit because when I've done all that, the last video that I did took me about 8 hours to do. So this is number 5, and I partly feel that I wish to do this one because just seen a client this morning for her 53rd session. She wished to be sectioned in February. She was that bad. Didn't have ME but had tiredness, but she came for really anxiety and overwhelm and massive stress. I've said before, I don't market myself as a chronic fatigue syndrome coach. It wasn't my dream. In later videos I will talk about, and I've got like video 8, I've got an idea called A Vision for Your Future. It wasn't part of my dream to go, hey, I remember when I was at the Optimum Health Clinic when I was studying, I can't wait to one day become a chronic fatigue syndrome coach. That didn't sound any kind of part of my vision. I wanted to recover from chronic fatigue syndrome, have my energy back, and I want to be able to play the guitar and do gigs and various things, and I have done that. Continue to write songs, and I actually wish to become a therapist, coach and mentor, which is what I am now, and see general issues. Still see C.F.S, which is what I do even to this day, but it's a small part of what I do because I like treating, I like the variation. I think it's probably part of my personality. I like to learn, and so I wouldn't learn enough just being a chronic fatigue syndrome coach, and that sounds like such a boring life to me. It was, I love the idea of, like, this week I'm working in California with somebody with gut issues. I've got somebody local here. I've got somebody again who is local, kind of anxiety issues. There's stress down in London. There's somebody in New York on Sunday. I do work Saturdays and Sundays just in case you are international. And last week, Canada, anxiety, chronic fatigue, local, America. That was a consultation that was cancelled in California. Down in Bristol, that was wanting to lose weight. Somebody else in Nottingham. Scotland, a week before. Anxiety. Overwhelm and anxiety down in London, again with somebody else. I've got to be careful because I don't want to break confidence. So there's certain things that I could have said and I'm not going to. But I get into like sexual issues with some people as well because of they've got hang-ups in relationships. It's just so varied. It's like, you go to see a doctor, and the doctor is, we say in this country, a GP, a general practitioner. And, you go in with everything to your GP. And a general practitioner is literally that. He knows lots of things about lots of things. And I like doing that. I don't like... To create a really good business model, you have a subject and you apply that right down the middle again and again and again. And it was just something that it just wasn't joyful. It didn't interest me. And so this is what I've done, and the life that I've created, I really, I do enjoy. And that's part of getting well. That's part of understanding how to get well. You need to create the life you would love to experience. I think I said in my last video, every Sunday, about 8:30, it's 7:30 and 8:30, it goes off. Because it's swapped my phone over, and it's still doing the same from the last phone. It's it says design the life you would love to be living. And so it constantly is, every week, it's on a Sunday and an evening, I'm like, am I really living the life I would love to be living? Okay. So I am going to use, I've got an itchy nose today. That's interesting. Itching. Itching is usually a frustration. Why am I frustrated? I think it's because I set myself the outcome of doing 10 videos an hour long. Yes. So I'm often doing this, working with my unconscious. Why is my unconscious irritated? It's like getting up my nose. It's because I don't wish to spend another 8 hours making an ME video. And it's like, well, if I've got to make another 5 after this as well, that's like 48 hours. And I'm like, no. This is going to be unedited all the way through. And that's how it's going to be. So anyway, this is one book here. This is called The Body Mind Workbook by Debbie Shapiro. And I'm going to look in the back of this book here, and then I will interlace this. It's the only little bit of editing I'm going to do. I'm going to interlace it. Because the client that I've just seen, that has just done 50 odd sessions, or what are we on, 52, they put it against their business. They've got a very good business. And she's a great client to see. She's been coming approximately twice a week, and that is a lot of money. But not everybody needs to do that, and she doesn't need to do it anymore, but she benefits, and so puts it against the business. She was really tired today, and here we are, fatigue, and I'll interlace this over the top. Fatigue. This means weariness with life, inner tiredness because of having to cope or keep going, depression and hopelessness. There is a sense of being inadequate, incompetent and uninterested. It indicates a loss of purpose, direction, a need to reconnect, and a need to reconnect with the inner joy and love of life. So if you can relate to that, we shall also go deeper, and we'll go to C.F.S, so chronic fatigue syndrome. And here we are. I will interlace this over the top. Usually occurring after a virus attack. Mine came after glandular fever when I was 16. ME can last for years and includes muscle fatigue, mental exhaustion, headaches, and emotional weakness. Indicated here is a loss of purpose or direction, of desire for life, as if all the wind has gone out of our sails. It can mean a deep fear of life, of taking responsibility, of coping with demands. The illness becomes a safe place to be, a retreat from action and confrontation. It can be connected to leaving home with rejection and loss of love, as well as being a means for gaining extra attention. ME also, like if you put a dot in between M and the E, it's blocking you from being me, you. So ME, it's a full stop, and it's fear stopping you from becoming who you wish to be, who you truly are, allowing that energy to come forward and to, who are you? What do you wish to do in life? Why are you here? When I nearly killed myself when I was 30, still getting a bit irritated. Why? Why is that? Because I'm repeating myself somewhat over the last ones, but so what? I'm just going to be honest here. When I was 30 and I nearly killed myself after having a number of times of just wanting to be out of here, I just felt there was too much pain and suffering in the world, and I was in too much pain and suffering within. And how really I've been able to move forward from that is to make sense of the pain and suffering and to make a difference. So I made a difference in my own life, and I make a difference with other people's. I do charge for it, but I also make videos. There's 300 videos out there that are for free. It cost me something. To get qualified at Alex's clinic now would cost about £7,000 or £8,000, I think. Plus all of the other stuff that I did on top, because I did other qualifications. They probably come to about £10,000. So that's a hell of a lot of money. And I'm a professional. I've been doing this. I've seen a couple of thousand clients. I'm really cheap for what I do. But people with ME don't always have a lot of money, and that's partly one of the reasons why I didn't market myself around ME, because usually when I was at the clinic, the people who were there weren't working. I was the only one with a part-time job. I was the only one who was getting no money from the state, no benefits. That's something else I need to talk about when I pick that card up to remind me. It's the thing that I do. And I really wished to get better like everybody else did, but everybody else was kind of being supported at the time. They were either supported by the state, by parents, and they weren't working. And I was the only one working, you know, which was, it was a big experience for me. It really expanded my mind. And it was actually after I left the clinic that I did actually apply for some benefits, because I was entitled to them, but I just didn't know how to be entitled to them, and I was afraid of taking the action to do it. So I got the disability element of working tax credit on top of my income, and I needed to window clean less because window cleaning wasn't my passion. It was helping me to get by, and it had been the support in my life that my parents had never been. And I had about 80 clients, and I used to go round in a loop, like, you know, every 2 or 3 months you just clean one house. You do one road and then you do the next road and do the next road and do the next road and kind of do this big loop. And I didn't know then, I didn't always know the house numbers, but I knew the people's names. I knew their families. I knew the kids. And I remember speaking to my counsellor at the time, and she said, she was French, trying to do a French accent. This, Daniel, this is your family. This is your support that you have in life that you have never had before. This gives you connection. And it was like, wow. So it's so true. So this is why I stayed doing that for 16 years part-time, because I was out in nature. It was really hard in the winter, but nature was really, and it still is, very healing, just to be around the trees. And I remember saying to her, Pierrette, her name was, French counsellor, I said, sometimes I said, you know, the only friends that I've got in life, I feel, are the trees. And she had a little tear, it came to her, Daniel, I think that is beautiful. Emotions, I'm going to talk about emotions today. Emotions are some of the biggest things that we need to learn to master and work on if we're going to get better health. So regarding all that I said, as quoted you from that book, the emotions, mastering your psychology, and particularly, which is the Enneagram I talk about really with mastering psychology, but with emotional well-being, mastering emotional well-being, that's having tools, that's having things and something available. So I'm also going to read what I said here. What is recovery? I'll put in brackets, it's usually a slow process as you get wiser and more masterful in your psychology and also your emotional well-being. The other thing I'm going to talk about with benefits, when I wasn't working, when I felt like an expensive pet 20 years ago in my early 20s with a girlfriend who was 10 years older than me, who was effectively mothering me, not that I knew that at the time. My acupuncturist did put that to me, and I'm like, no. But she was giving me the kind of the motherly love that I never felt that I had from my own mother, because my own mother didn't have the motherly love, and probably her mother didn't have the motherly love, and it goes back in that generation. And so when I was just on benefits for incapacity benefit, which is mean I got some benefits because I couldn't work. It was like I couldn't work. But whenever they'd do a test or they'd do something, you know, I had an all-work test. I think it was like, you know, can you make yourself a cup of tea? Can you get up in the morning? And I know from people who struggle with the whole benefit system because it's so messed up. But I understand why it is like it is. When I decided to do a little part-time work, the stress that I was once feeling through not work and trying to convince the system that I'm ill, which I was, but it was like that they're going, well, are you ill? Are you too ill that you cannot work at all? Or are you so ill that, you know, that you can't do some part-time work? So when I actually did do some part-time work, I mean, I remember cleaning the very first house, which, you know, I'd try to work in a shop and I got sacked within 3 days. They thought I was on drink or drugs. after doing some more walking, some meditation, some didn't do EFT back then. It was the late 90s. And acupuncture, seeing this acupuncturist who was a lovely guy, Dr. Martin Albright, who was a former GP who actually went down the holistic sort of spiritual route. I will get back to you. Thank you for reminding me. He helped me on the path to integrating back into life, and just cleaning a few windows. Like, to begin with, I didn't tell the benefit system that I was doing this, so I did for a few months just to sort of get the confidence up that could I do it. I didn't want the big kind of like, right, you're sick and now you're okay. It was like the first time it was introduced to a client, because I asked an old window cleaner who used to clean my mum and dad's windows to whether he wanted an apprentice, just for the summer really, or the autumn. And he went, no. He said, but if you're interested, I'll start you up. And to Harry, I am so grateful, because without him, I'd never have got that job. I'd never have had an income. I'd never have been able to do all that I did. So I'm so grateful to him. But he introduced me to some clients, because he gave me some of his old work that didn't pay so well. And then I put it up a little bit over the years. But I had a panic attack the first time I got, not even cleaning the house. I went round to, it's probably 1998, about 20 years ago. I would have gone round in about September time, introducing me to these people. I came back home and I literally went to bed for like half a day, and the panic attack after panic attack after panic attack. It was just like, I won't be able to do it, I won't be able to do it right, all those kind of crazy thoughts and everything that was just preventing me, blocking me from moving forward. After I got to a level of competency that I could do it, I was just doing like one house. I did like one house a day, and I did it like for 3 days. So I'd go out one day and I'd clean one house. And I'd probably take like 3 or 4 times the amount of time that I would have taken when I gave it up 4 years ago. I was OCD, obsessive with getting it right, because I was terrified of what they might say and what they might do, and would they sack me, and would I scrape a ladder down the side of the house? All this terrible worst case scenario thinking was just massively costing me energy. And when I made the transition and applied for benefits, so I applied for tax credits to say that I could only work between 16 and 30 hours a week, and I was, put that down now, and I earned under the tax threshold of whatever that was at the time. I think it's 16,000 these days. Then you can be on tax credits, and it's a way, or the disability element of tax credits, and it's just it's a bit of a drop sometimes if you're really sick and you're getting massive amounts of benefit money. It might be a drop, but there are people, certainly in England, who will integrate that process, because the government doesn't want people on long-term sick. They want people back in work, and they do understand that this is the transition period. It's the same as like if you've got, 4, 5, 6 kids, and I can't work, I've got to look after them. Well, it's costing the state a lot of money by you not working. So they wish for you to do a little bit of something. It looks good for them in politics, the fact that, hey, we've got more people back into work. But there are people in place, and it is actually, if you go back and read what I put there, from this book, it's about integrating back into life. And this is why we need to master our emotional well-being through that integration period, into that change. Okay, we're up to 20 minutes. So I thought today that I will do some EFT, some general EFT, so that everybody can do some tapping along with this, so that everybody can get something from it. And I didn't do EFT myself until about 2002, and by that point I'd actually got enough energy that I'd built up this part-time window cleaning round. I was still studying a little psychology on the time, and I was still interested in personal development. I think the beauty of doing window cleaning for so many years was I just stuck on my... I had an old iPod back then. In fact, I had tapes back then. This keeps going dark. It's now back on. I was listening to tapes back then, personal development tapes. That's how old I am, and how old I'm going back to. Does anybody know tapes? Some of you might be really young. You know a tape? Okay. It's what you used to play, if you had a Walkman. Okay, so I played tapes with batteries, not an iPhone that you charged up, or iPod. So I had an iPod. And I just used to put masses and masses of... No, I had a CD player. I had a Walkman CD player. Then I moved on to the iPod. But I just use it to... Whilst I was cleaning windows, I would just be listening to audio programs about self-development. And I could actually unconsciously listen to it. So I wasn't really consciously listening to it. I found it very hard because I had so much brain fog. I found it very, very hard to read books, but I could listen to videos. I could watch TV, but back then I didn't have the internet. So I think I had the internet in 2001, but did very little on about ME recovery back then. I didn't want to know anything to do with ME. It was just all about personal development. I was immersed in personal development, so it unconsciously began to seep into my consciousness, and I began to just think and feel differently. And I just put it down to fear. This is just chronic generational fear. In fact, the old French counsellor said, Daniel, you come from... after saying something, you just generally come out with this, but I remember saying something about, why is my family like this, and why do we all struggle in as a family? Because I'm the only one who got chronic fatigue syndrome, but everybody suffered on a different level with different things. Depression throughout my family, and that's because there's so many limiting beliefs that are clouding you from living life through your heart. Then you're going to get depressed. That's kind of depression in a nutshell. When you're able to express yourself and able to move forward in life and move towards what it is you would love, heart, you're not going to feel depressed. So take that on board. So Piret said, Daniel, you come from a legacy of emotional deprivation. I've never forgotten that line. I was like, wow. Didn't write it down, but it just stuck in my head. I came from a legacy of emotional deprivation. So how could I override that? What could I do? So a number of you will also come from that. Not everybody comes from that. Some people get chronic fatigue syndrome and they've got really great families. They've got really supportive families. Mine wasn't. And that's why I got suicidal and why I nearly killed myself, because it was just me, myself, and I just didn't think that was enough. So I had to go through it. It was me, and then there was God, the universe, the Tao, all that is, Allah, whatever we want to call it, the mystery. And I began to develop a relationship with that, and so that became my support in many ways. And I found my inner guidance. I found much more of my intuition inside of me. So to break through that legacy of emotional deprivation, I had to emotionally fill myself up. And that means doing good things, that means self-love. What does that mean, self-love? Okay, there's a beautiful book called The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. It's partly Christian. It's sold millions of copies of books. It's been on the New York Times bestseller for, for a long time. It was like, I can't remember. Hugely successful book. And it's like eliciting strategies for love. So he says, within love, there are acts of service, that's doing things for others, but equally doing things for yourself that you wouldn't normally do. Acts of service. Gifts, so buying gifts for others, but maybe buying gifts for yourself that you wouldn't normally do. Physical touch, that means physical touch from others or physically touching yourself in a non-sexual way, in a loving way that you wouldn't normally do. Self-hugs being one, or just being very lovely with your face and just going, oh, I love you, 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 oh, I love you. I mean, I remember lying on the floor at times and just hugging myself and just saying, I will always be here for you. I will always be here for you. And those were the words that my inner child always longed to hear and never got. So that was another part of healing. Physical touch. Q, quality time. I remember them in alphabetical order. Quality time. That means spending quality time with somebody that you love, or spending time with yourself that you wouldn't normally do, in a positive, in a very deep way, in a self-loving way. And the last one, words of affirmation. Words that you would wish to hear from somebody, or positive words that you could and can say to yourself that you normally wouldn't. I love you. You're doing really well. I'm really proud of you. I'm so pleased with your progress. Small steps. That was another big small move. If you want to watch the video or watch the film Contact with Jodie Foster, her father is always reassuring her, small moves, Ellie, small moves. And I won't spoil the ending, but in the ending of the film, the father says to Jodie Foster's character, small moves, small moves. We actually move, the consciousness in totality moves in small steps. It's the ego wants big steps. The ego wants it now. I could go, hey, look, all of you, if you take this card right now, you'll be fully recovered. All of you would just reach out the screen and take it, and I want to be recovered now. It's about transition. The consciousness on the planet transitions slowly. Look how far we've come with like a black American president. I mean, I remember being at school in the 1980s and one guy, I can remember his name, laughing and going, because there was one black guy in our class, and laughing at him and going, we'll never have a black president, whatever. And how many years did that take? 25, 35 years, something like that, for that to manifest. When did Obama come into power? 2000. 25 years, that's all. What about gay marriage? In my country, in England, it was to be gay in the 1960s. I can't remember. It was illegal until it was made legal in the late 60s, I believe. Look how far we've shifted in consciousness, and it's incremental. All different stages, incremental. Right now, we're involved in this Brexit thing, and I voted to stay in Europe. I feel European. I don't feel particularly. I feel more European. I am English, I am British, I all that, come from the UK, all that stuff. But what have we done? We've incrementally become, okay, well, we're going to separate ourselves from Europe. But it's incremental, and it's dotting all the I's and the T's. The government know that they've got to do this, but, there's not going to be one great big step. We could say half of the country wanted things to stay the same. I think in the end, in the referendum, it was like 48 or 49% wanted to stay, but 52% voted to leave. And whenever I spoke to the people who wanted to leave, they were like, they wanted big change. We want, and a lot of it was to be, I'm not going off track here, but it was about immigration, I found. And there was a big sort of thing of like, we don't want these immigrants in our country anymore. But other people were like, we don't want to give all this money to Brussels. We want to make the change, big change. It's our country, we want it now. But the reality is that it'll have to be a slow Brexit. It'll have to be, which is what's happened. It was 2 years ago we actually voted, and nothing's happened yet since. And it's always those small shifts. And my belief is that another 20, 25, 30 years, might be even sooner, we'll actually be reunited with Europe again. I think it was the older generation that voted in Europe. So it's small steps, small moves, small shifts. So understand that small steps will go a long way. There's something called Kaizen that I also got into in a huge way, Kaizen. And I bought an audio program on that. You get that if you're part of my package. If you buy a package with me, buy a package of 5 sessions. I give people quite a lot of stuff about the Enneagram. I give people about £200 worth of audios for what is £400 in 5 sessions of coaching. So I just give lots of people information, resources. but you could go away and look at that, Kaizen. And that is the art of manifestation through small steps. So allow that to be part of your consciousness, allow that to seep into your consciousness, and understand that less is more. I never got to here by one great big step. One tapping session, one acupuncture session, one session of counselling. It was an evolution. There are some people who have chronic fatigue syndrome. It must go off every 10 minutes, I think. There are some people who have been ill for just a number of years, and they've had all of their certain period, decades of being well, that you're going to be able to get much better well sooner. With me, there's still parts of my consciousness that I'm working on. Thank you very much. It's reminding me about a client later. Right, okay. That's a client actually telling me. Okay. That's a client. It's just text message various things about what she wants to cover in this session. Okay. Where am I? So small moves, small steps. Okay, I'm not going to go back. It's obviously, if I can't think of it now, it wasn't massively important. So let's do some tapping, because I'd like to, let's get about 25 minutes of tapping in here. All right, okay. If you've never done EFT and you're absolutely new to it, it stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's a version of emotional acupuncture. You're tapping on acupuncture points. We know that acupuncture relaxes us deeply, and it will relax the body, which relaxes the mind, and it opens us up to neuroplasticity. I've done thousands and thousands of hours of tapping on myself, and tapping is in the recovering from multiple sclerosis book. No, multiple sclerosis will kill you. ME won't kill you, although I think there's one person who put that down on their death certificate. But it's a neurological condition. It's not multiple sclerosis. It's not as severe as that. Not to say that it's not completely devastating. And it's from someone who nearly killed themselves multiple times. I have every empathy in your situation and where you are, but you have to grow beyond it. That's what you've got to do. It's a state of consciousness that's currently happening, and all states of consciousness can shift. All right, so start tapping on this point. It's the karate chop point. This is linked to the lymphatic system. You can also rub the sore spot, so it's rubbing around here. So whichever you can do, depends how ill you are, depends what you can do. Even if it's just marginally, even if it's just the tiniest bit, okay? I want you to focus on something that you could do that you know would benefit you, in either that you're going to have a better day today. I'm going to tap here because I'm used to tapping here much more. It's either you're going to have a better day. If you took this action, it means that you're going to have a better day today. If you took this piece of action, it means that you're going to be moving forward. But make that a small move. Don't make it too big, I'm going to tap so I can suddenly go on a 2-mile walk, itchy nose again. And very interesting, that is. I think, why am I irritated slightly? It's interesting, it's my issues. It's because that part of me that really wishes to help, and I get irritated because I can't help you, or I'd wish to. If I could set up a charity, but there are charities around. The itchiousness has gone away now I've gone into it. It's like, what do you want for me? And it's the same as I go into symptoms sometimes. What do these symptoms wish for me? What do they want for me? NLP, working with the unconscious, is always working with the unconscious positive intent. And the unconscious positive intent to staying in C.F.S. and staying limited, I've explained in here by posting that. So what is it, the one small piece of action that you could do that's going to make your life better today? Forget about long-term recovery. Forget about this is going to be the session, this is the breakthrough thing. Think about it as, it's like being on the Wizard of Oz. This is just the next step on the path. This is the next step on the journey. What could you do today that would help you to create a more peaceful life, to create a more resourceful life, a life of meaning, a life of purpose, a life that you would love to experience? What could you do? You will know there's going to be something that you could do. Okay, so think about that and just allow that to be slightly out of your comfort zone. I don't know what it is, but just slightly out of your comfort zone, and just apply yourself to that. Become aware of it. And don't make it more than a 2 out of 10, maybe even a 1 out of 10. So it's something that you could do, but you're slightly afraid of doing it, or you're slightly resistant to doing it. Because if you try and go for something that's too far, like a 3 out of 10, 3 out of 10 I'd normally say is okay, but I'm going to say no more than a 2 out of 10, because I'd like you to do it. I'd like you to feel that you could do it. And if you can't do it at the end, pick something else that's just a 1 out of 10 in resistance. 10 out of 10 is like, hey, oh, I ain't doing it in a month or something. 1 out of 10 is, really. So you just start building some inertia. You just start creating momentum. That at least you're doing something. You're moving forward. ME is about, that big full stop in the middle of me being stuck. Okay. So even though I'm afraid of it, so repeat after me. Even though I'm afraid of taking this action, I know it would be good for me. But I'm resistant. I feel stuck. I kind of think, what's the point? I kind of don't like this idea of taking small steps. I feel like it's useless. I feel like I want the big step because I want to be better now. I feel like I want the big step because I want to be better now. I feel like disheartened. But I'm open to doing this. I'm open to listening to this advice. I'm open to this way of moving forward. But I'm still resistant. I still feel this fear. I'd like to do it. But it almost feels safe, and I do wish to retreat. Maybe on some level, ME is comfortable, even though it's uncomfortable. Maybe on some level, ME is comfortable, even though it is uncomfortable. Maybe if I start moving forward too much too soon, then I'll take too much on. And I'm afraid of being overwhelmed. I'm afraid of getting better. That might be just too much responsibility. Maybe my unconscious is just going to sabotage everything. Maybe I can't get it to do what I would wish it to do. But maybe I could just do that. Maybe I could begin to move forward that way. Maybe on some level deep down this all is making sense. Maybe I can do it. And maybe recovery is about all of those small steps. Maybe it is an unfolding of consciousness. Maybe I need time to process each one of those steps. Maybe I'm doing just fine. Just by listening to these videos and tapping along right now, maybe that's just fine. Maybe by just listening to these videos and tapping along, maybe that's just fine. Because maybe I will take this action that I need to take. Maybe I will take this action that I need to take. Maybe I will take this action that I know will be good for me. Maybe I will take this action that I know will be good for me. Maybe I can grow beyond fear. Maybe I can grow beyond fear. Maybe I'm allowed to remove that full stop and become me. Maybe I'm allowed to remove that full stop and become me. Maybe this really is making sense. Maybe this really is making sense. Maybe actually it would be less painful just to take another step forward. Maybe it would be less painful just to take another step forward. And maybe that's what I'm going to do. And maybe that's what I'm going to do. Maybe that would create more ease overall. Maybe that would create more ease overall. Maybe that's exactly what I need to do. Maybe that's exactly what I need to do. So maybe I can take this action. Maybe I can take this action. Maybe I feel comfortable with taking that action. Maybe I feel comfortable taking that action. Maybe I need to do things daily slightly differently. Maybe I need to do things daily slightly differently. Maybe I can begin to open to life. Maybe I can begin to open to life. Maybe I can let go, let be, and let in. Maybe I can let go, let be, and let in. Maybe it is safe to live life. Maybe it is safe to live life. Maybe I can bust through this conditioning. Maybe I can bust through this conditioning. Maybe it's okay right now. Maybe it's okay right now. Maybe I can just move forward slowly. Maybe I can just move forward slowly. Maybe everything is beginning to make sense. Maybe everything is beginning to make sense. Maybe I can take that action. Maybe I can take that action. Maybe this is going in at a very deep subconscious level. Maybe this is going in at a deep, very deep subconscious level. Maybe I need some time to process this. Maybe I do need some time to process this. Maybe I can start seeing a future for myself. Maybe I can start to see a future for myself. Maybe I can really let go and allow. Maybe I really can let go and allow. Maybe I need to let go of trying to push for recovery. Maybe I do need to let go of trying to push for recovery. Maybe I want to get better too much and that causes too much stress. Maybe I do want to get better too much and that causes too much stress. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay. Maybe I'm okay. Maybe I'm okay. Maybe I feel relaxed in my body a little more right now. Maybe I feel relaxed in my body a little more right now. Maybe these are great life lessons. Maybe these are great life lessons. Maybe I can begin to feel my inner power. Maybe I can begin to feel my inner power. Maybe my thoughts are beginning to slow a little. Maybe my thoughts are beginning to slow a little. Maybe this is what Daniel talks about in Mastering Emotional Wellbeing. Maybe this is what Daniel talks about in Mastering Emotional Wellbeing. Because maybe my emotions do feel as if I'm mastering them a lot more. Maybe emotions do feel like I'm mastering them a lot more. Maybe this is making a lot of sense. Maybe this is making a lot of sense. Maybe I'm okay. Maybe I'm okay. Maybe this journey is okay. Maybe This journey's okay. Maybe to grow would be a good thing. Maybe to grow would be a good thing. Maybe I could grow away from fear and towards love. Maybe I could grow away from fear towards love. Maybe I could do what I would love to do. Maybe I could do what I would love to do. Maybe I'm doing it right now. Maybe I am doing it right now. Maybe everything's okay. Maybe everything is okay. Maybe I just need to calm down a lot more. Maybe I do need to calm down a lot more. Maybe this is doing it. Maybe this is doing it. Maybe I really can take that action. Maybe I can take that action. And maybe I can know that through taking that action daily, maybe I know through taking that action daily, will create more health and energy. Will create more health and energy. Maybe I know that at a deep, deep level. Maybe I do know that at a deep, deep level. Maybe it's time to let go of where I once was. Maybe it is time to let go of where I once was. Maybe I really know that everything healthy grows. Maybe I do know that everything healthy grows. And maybe I need to realize that for me to become healthy, I need to grow. Maybe I do realize that for me to be healthy, I need to grow. So maybe a little growth would be good today. So maybe a little growth would be good today. Maybe that energy could be freed up in moving forward a little bit. Maybe that energy would be freed up in moving forward a little bit. Maybe this is all making sense. Maybe this is all making sense. And maybe I could just let go of recovery and just think about growth. Maybe I could let go of recovery and just think about growth. Maybe I could take a deep breath. Maybe I could take a deep breath. Maybe I can slow these thoughts down. Maybe I can slow these thoughts down. Take a deep breath. Okay, I want you to put your feet on the floor. Rest your hands. I rest my hands. This is what I used to do in meditation. Put this hand in this hand, cup it. Just meet the fingers together, or the thumbs. And then I rest that in my lap. Letting the back of the chair support me. Letting the weight of my body be supported by this chair. Just returning to your breath, and close your eyes if you can. Take your breath all the way down to where your belly button is. Though you don't have lungs down there, imagine you taking breaths from there. As far away from your ego mind as possible. Far away from fear. Just keep pulling your energy all the way down there, pulling your focus down there. The mind will want to come away, or want to think, or want to do something. You keep returning your energy to your breath, deep down in the belly. So just taking a deep breath in and exhale very slowly. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And do like a 1 in 3. So breathe in for 2. 1, 2. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in the nose through 2. 2. Out for 6. 3, 4, 6. Turn your attention to your belly. Keep taking your energy down there. Breathe deep down from your belly. So this is also calming your emotions. Keep breathing from there. Breathing in for 2, through your nose. 1, 2, and out for 6. If that doesn't feel so comfortable, then do it to 4, do it to 5. But just get a rhythm. Just find some calm within your body, creating that calm. So it's beginning to master your mind as well as your emotions. Breathing in, out. And again, breathing in and out. So as you breathe out, just letting go. Imagine that you're like a balloon that's slowly letting go of the air. Keep that rhythm, keep that pattern. Just find some comfort within the body. Creating ease in the mind. Open your eyes. Just feel what it's like in your body. My body right now feels quite weighty, I feel more solid. My mind's calmer. I feel more present. And that's where your inner power comes from as well. You feel it, you get a sense of how powerful you are without the scattered mind. And then thoughts become like clouds. Just let them go. Don't get fixated on the cloud, because another cloud will come. But there's also blue sky. Focus on the breath. Just drop your attention, drop your awareness with that, come down, fall deeper. Deep down in the belly. And can you be like that whilst you're awake? And then can you move forward? So what was it that you could do now that you couldn't do? What's that piece of action that you know that you were a little resistant to doing that you could do right now? And you'd feel better. You'd feel like it's like moving the stone that's sort of set in place, and you begin to just move it, so it's slowly going to start moving downhill. And it will start creating inertia, which is energy of its own, just through the forward movement. Often, sometimes the hardest thing to do to be able to take that first step. Doesn't matter if it's giving up alcohol, smoking, or anything. It's part of the unconscious feels stuck with where it is, and it's the positive action that you can take, which then leads on to the positive action. But be very mindful, be very aware of that things could move fast And if they start moving too fast, you stop it. Do something to come back, and smaller steps. Because it may be that you start moving forward. This is quite common with everybody. This isn't just with ME recovery. This is all unconscious resistance. It's like, wow, I feel like I'm mastering it. I feel like I'm doing it. I can do anything now. And then the unconscious just goes, break. Not going any further. And people go, oh no, I'm back to square one. Well, that's very much the one step forward, two steps back. If it's too much of a step forward, your unconscious sabotages one step, so it goes back to where it once was, but it takes another step back because it goes, I know you're the person who's going to be moving forward because you're pushing, so it kind of compensates for that, so that you'll eventually, with some effort, get back to where you once were. But you've moved here, and this is not unfamiliar territory, so you can move forward again into that territory, but with a slightly less big step. And that's when you go, right, now we can both move forward together. The resistant part of all of us doesn't wish to stay resistant completely. It wishes for us to be safe, for us to be okay, for us to survive this thing called life. This is part of our million-year-old brain. It's like 2 million-old brain we've got, which has helped us move forward in evolution and helped us stay safe. But it's moved forward with us, but it doesn't need to stay there. With chronic fatigue syndrome, it can begin to lessen, and so we can have the energy can be freed up, so we can start moving forward. Okay, I'm coming to the end of this video now. Please like, comment, share these videos, subscribe. Go to the notifications bell, which means that all my other videos will come up and you'll be notified when I have done a new video. I am going to do another 5. It's going to be another 5 hours, and I think this has been a very good way of doing it. I'm going to do no edits other than interlace this book in here. I'm learning all of the time. I'm used to doing short videos because I don't do hour-long videos, and I haven't been marketing massively for chronic fatigue syndrome recovery clients. But it was something that when I was really sick, when I was suicidal, and when I was in a very, very poor place, I just used to think, if I can recover, I'll do something to help others. And I've been quite selfish over the years, thinking of myself, just going, this is about creating the life I would love to experience. So I will take a few chronic fatigue clients on. I won't take on masses, but I will take a few on should you wish to work with me. My prices and my fees are on my website. You can have a free consultation with me. You're most welcome to. And if not, and you can't afford sessions, then I will upload some more. But also, I've said before, it's about investing in yourself. And even if you had 5 sessions and you use those over the course of 12 months, and you had one every approximately 2.5 months, it will help you build momentum, and then you'd think, okay, I've spent that money, this is where I'd like to be much further in 12 months' time. And that can be a good way of doing it. But there are so many different protocols, there's so many different people out there helping with chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm only sharing what works for me and what I should use when I'm working with other clients. But how I work actually in chronic fatigue recovery is no different how I work with any other illness or anybody else who doesn't even have an illness. It's just about understanding the power of the unconscious and what the unconscious is doing for us all of the time. Part of it wants to stay put, part of it wants to grow within every human being. And we all have a different brain. It's all slightly different. The brain is slightly different and it operates slightly differently. And the more that we can begin to master our psychology, master emotional well-being, and begin to master this process of transformation, we will be in a much more solid and masterful way. Did I use masterful too much? We will just feel a lot better. We'll feel good. Okay. I wish you all the very best, and please comment on these videos, as I say, like. Let me know if you'd like to know some more things for the next 5 videos. I've got some ideas for the next 5 videos. If you'd like to know if you've got any questions, I will do my best to answer within reason, simply. I wish you the best of health. Okay, bye for now.